Hey, my name is Jamal Hartwell, and I am the president and CEO, founder of Gospel Musicians, gospelmusicians.com. But before I was the president and founder of gospelmusicians.com, I was a little boy trying to learn how to play the keyboards, all right? So I grew up in Akron, Ohio. We called it the Rubber City, Firestone. You know, we had all the industries there, and I grew up in a little church, Baptist church, Mount Liberty Baptist Church on Ira. But before we were on Ira, we were at the bottom of Maple Street in a little corner church. I used to watch the piano player at the time on the real piano. When you played on the real piano ivories, Wayne Brown, I used to watch him and just dream about playing the piano, playing the keyboards. So we finally moved up to the other church, got a bigger church. And we grew up in one of those type of churches where everybody played something. You had no excuse, you know, to not play something because everybody had the opportunity to play. So I set up my little Casio and tried to play different chords. And I remember praying. I told the Lord, I said, you either give me the gift to play or kill me. That's how bad I wanted to play. So some years later, at the age of about 16, played for my first church, Holy Trinity Methodist church, but it was kind of like a charismatic Methodist church. And here you have it. So I grew up playing keys. I grew up playing in an old traditional Baptist church. Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior, Hear My Humble Cry. I grew up on quartet. I grew up on the quartets, Heavenly Gospel Singers, the Johnson Singers and J-Boys. And so I grew up on the quartet. But Saturday mornings, my father would play jazz. He would play cats like Grover Washington. He would play Miles Davis, George Duke, Duke Ellington, the old school jazz. So I grew up listening to jazz and I learned to play traditional gospel. So what would happen is I would take my jazz that I would hear at home, because remember, I'm learning how to play by ear. So that's what I grew up with. So I would take my jazz and I would actually go to church and they would say that I played too jazzy. So that's the opening song on this Neo Souled Out album is the intro. And it's telling my story, how they would say that I played too jazzy. And now to come to find out years later that playing jazzy and playing neo soul and implementing those styles into gospel is cool, but it wasn't cool when I first learned how to play. So that's my background. I'm an old Baptist guy. I'm charismatic, church to no end, but I actually grew up with that jazz background. So I appreciate my dad for allowing me to have that jazz background. So this Neo Souled Out album is a accumulation of that, of a guy growing up in a traditional Baptist old school quartet scene, but then having the influences of the jazz era of, I'm actually named after two jazz musicians, Ahmed Jamal and Yusef Lateef. My name is Jamal Lateef, which now y'all know my middle name. So that's what I'm named after, two jazz musicians. So I'm taking the jazz, I'm taking the gospel, I'm taking the neo soul, I'm taking the funk, and I'm fusing it all together. And that's why we call it Neo Souled Out. Okay, now, so Neo Souled Out, where did that name come from? How did it even evolve? I was doing a DVD with Laudier Lugo, and he's doing a Spanish DVD, Alabanza Moderna. So I told him I would give him credit. This was like at least 4 or 5 years ago, but I knew I was going to come out with the album. So a while ago, I was just telling him my vision about implementing neo soul into gospel and the type of chords, the minor nines, and all that stuff. He said, "Man," he said, you neo souled out." I was like, "That's a good name for the album." I said, "Can I use it?" He said, "You can use it." So that's where the name came from. But the underlining feeling of Neo Souled Out is a dual meaning. It says that I love the style neo soul. Now, when I say the style neo soul, I'm talking underneath the umbrella, to me, of neo soul is hip hop, it's jazz, it's the old school soul, it's the new school soul, it's funk as well, but modernized. So basically we reached back and we took the art forms of the old school. We took the art forms of the old school Funkadelics and the old school Bootsy, which I am from Ohio. And we took the old school art forms of soul and the jazz, but we modernized it. So Neo Souled Out from a genre of music is that type of music that I like, but I made it modern. And it's also a duplicity because I'm Neo Souled Out to the Lord. So it's music that you know everybody can listen to. It's uplifting the Lord, it's glorifying God. So Neo Souled Out has a double meaning. I love neo soul, but at the same time, the message is that I'm neo souled out, or I'm sold out to the Lord, because I'm still that gospel musician. I just had all these other influences of musical genre, but don't get it twisted. I'm still sold out to God. So that's the duplicity of the name Neo Souled Out. That's where it came from. So let's talk about these songs, all right? So the first song is the introduction. It explains a little bit about my history of Too Jazzy. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone with somebody and they heard some of the songs and they said, I hope you're not gonna play that in church because that's too jazzy. So it's explaining the jazz portion and how I grew up and how people used to say I played too jazzy. So the second song is the theme song, and I couldn't think of anybody better to write the theme song than Byron Chambers, my dude. When I first moved here, he is probably, in my opinion, and I'm going to brag on my dude, he's probably one of the top talkbox guys. He still is keeping that Roger vibe. He still has that Roger Troutman talkbox vibe. His clarity on the talkbox is awesome. I tried to do the talkbox and it's definitely an art form. It's a skill. So the way he writes and the way he puts stuff together, I knew if I came up with a funk groove that he'll be able to write the Neo Souled Out. And his wife, actually, Tammy, is the one that actually wrote a lot of the lyrics. So credit to Tammy there. So I sent him a funk groove and it just had too much going. Because sometimes when I just get pumped, I put too much in there. So I had to scale it back and I went old school. I said, let me just give that old school, straight up Roger Troutman, snare, claps, funk, and just leave it open so he can write his thing. So he wrote Neo Souled Out, and you'll be able to hear a little bit of snippet of it. So the Neo Souled Out album, it's a gumbo, as he says in the album. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's everything. So I had to get my boy Byron to write the theme song, Neo Souled Out.
So watch out. Woo, yeah. With the jazzy undertone and a poetic flow coming out. Oh yeah. Like putting genres in a bowl and then mixing it with soul. It's combo for music, baby. Yes, it is. When this fusion makes a mold, it will jiggle in your soul like jello. Yeah, just jiggle along with me.
So I got a song on here. I got 18, it's 18 songs strong. I mean, this is stuff that I've been working on for the last, 10 years. Some of the songs are 10 years old. One of the songs I have on here is what I did in the my Fundamentals of Neo Soul DVD. It was so funky I had to use it. The name of the song is 7 is the Perfect Number. And the reason why I'm kind of highlighting this song is because a lot of my songs have a duplicity meaning. I'm not just naming them anything. They have some meaning. So 7 is the perfect number. From a spiritual standpoint, we know 7 is God's perfect number. 7 days in a week, it completes it. The next 8th day, next day starts over. So the 7 days in a week. So 7 is God's perfect number. It's completion. But the funny thing is about the 7th chord, if you play the 7th chord, all right, if you play the 7th chord, it's actually a very funky chord. So what I'm doing in this song, I'm basically taking the 7th chord where the bass is the bass is at the root, and I'm moving in intervals of circles of 4, cycles of fifths, whatever you want to call it. And all I'm doing this whole entire song pretty much is a 7th chord, and I'm just moving sevenths up and down cycles of fourths and fifths. And so the funny thing about it is that when I'm playing the 7th chord, you can almost say that God has a funky soul, because these 7th chords are actually very funky. So I'm playing these 7th chords going back and forth. And so we say 7th is a perfect number. So it's 7 is God's number. But at the same time, it's kind of funny because God has a funky way because it's a 7th chord and it's going back and forth, and this whole song is a 7th chord and it's completely funky. So you can actually say from a theory standpoint that God is funky. So that's what's cool about this song. So 7th is a perfect number. 7 is the perfect number. Ready, go!
Don't know what to do, 'cause I'm so in love with you. It's a little thing you make me know you love me.